What's the word, YouTube? It's your boy MGM with another crazy reaction video. My bad, y'all. My voice all messed up. Good morning, first thing first. Good morning, man. Hope y'all having a good morning. I found a video. It says, a killer doctor realizes he's been caught. Everybody have their theories about these doctors out here killing people, man. Because I be thinking that, they purposely don't do their job too sometimes. But yeah, let's get into this video, man. See what they talking about. But before we get into it, you already know. Smash that like button, drop a comment down below. Let me know you here. And subscribe if you want to, bro.
Morning hours of March 2nd, 2022, 56-year-old Kenny Fandrich was driving to work when he noticed somebody following him. He called 911 and an officer with the Hillsborough Police Department pulled over Kenny's stalker.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Officer Edwards, Hillsborough Police. Just so you know, I have a body-worn camera on, so it's audio video recording. Do you know why we're stopping you today?
Yeah, I'm trying to get a hold of this guy and I'm following him.
Okay, why are you following him?
He's been living out of life and I've been trying to talk to him about it.
Do you think that's wise to be following around the city?
Well, we're going to have a discussion about it.
Okay.
So,
What's your role in the whole thing?
she's been a friend of mine for 20 years.
Okay.
And I just want to let him know that I don't want him to beat up anymore.
Okay. All right. Do you have any weapons in the car?
Nope.
Okay. Hang tight for me. I'll be right back with you.
The officer then returned to his vehicle and ran the stalker's ID through the system. It came back as Dr. Stephen Milner, a highly respected and successful veterinarian who runs his own practice in Oregon City.
He's been living out of life and I've been trying to talk to him about it.
What's your role in the whole thing?
She's been a friend of mine for 20 years.
The friend he's referring to is Tanya Fandrich, a vet tech that had worked for him from 2002 to 2019. It turns out that Stephen became obsessed with Tanya and had been harassing her and her husband for several years.
What?
Unsure of Stephen's intentions, the officer gave him a stern warning.
So, here's my advice to you. Okay? This is very, very strong advice. Leave them alone. He wants nothing to do with you. She wants nothing to do with you. I understand there was an affair, all sorts of back history that went on. If you show up at their house, if you contact them, anything like that, you're going to go to jail.
Stephen tried to convince the officer that he was only doing this because Tanya's life was in danger.
And he has told her that people put her in the cistern at the house. I'm the only person who gives a shit, and I'm not allowed to give a shit.
I want to be very, very clear with you, okay? Leave them alone. Because you're very close to going to jail today for stalking. Okay, like very, very close. Okay.
On the body camera, he is going to kill her. She is going to die if he is going to kill her.
Actually, 11 months after this incident, it would be Kenny who was found with his neck snapped, dead in his vehicle. On the morning of January 27th, 2023, Kenny pulled into a parking garage in his black Honda Civic, ready for his shift in Hillsborough, Oregon. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, but as soon as he grabbed his tools and left the parking garage, a masked man suddenly appeared and began spray painting as many surveillance cameras as he could find. One of the cameras was pointed directly at Kenny's vehicle. The man knew exactly where most of the cameras were, making it appear like this was a carefully planned operation. However, he did miss some cameras that were less visible or harder to reach. Once the masked man was done, he left the parking garage in a blue Buick sedan. Then, at 1:13 p.m., a maroon minivan entered the parking garage and pulled into the space right beside Kenny's car. A couple of hours later, Kenny finished his shift and made his way back to his vehicle, completely unaware that he was walking right into the killer's trap. The headlights on Kenny's car can be seen flashing through the camera's obstructed view as he unlocks his vehicle. Moments later, Kenny is attacked and he disappears into the back of the minivan. His headlights begin flashing over and over until eventually the flashing stops. 10 minutes later, more movement is captured before the maroon minivan drives away, exiting the parking garage. Hours later, the Hillsborough Police Department received a call from Tanya reporting Kenny missing.
I called him, couldn't get a hold of him, and he always answered, always took my call. And I was like, that's not right.
She told the police that Kenny always shared his phone location with her, and it showed that he was still at work. So the police agreed to go to the parking garage to look for him. When they arrived, they found Kenny brutally murdered in the driver's seat of his Honda Civic. His neck appeared to be broken, and his face was blue. Not long after this discovery, Kenny's wife Tanya arrived at the scene.
We're not sure right now. We're gonna have medics. He's here in the garage somewhere.
She could immediately tell by the officer's reaction that something bad had happened.
Oh my God.
The police didn't want to confirm her suspicions until EMS had pronounced Kenny dead. A few minutes later, the cops broke the tragic news to Tanya.
It can't be happening. It can't be happening. This can't be real. It can't be real. This can't really be happening.
We're going to have the medical examiner come out and investigate this, okay? Has he been having any issues lately?
No, but he has a stalker.
This comment caught the officer's attention, so after the initial grief had subsided, the police interviewed Tanya and learned about her long history with Kenny's stalker, Stephen Milner.
Hi, I'm Steve Milner, owner of the Milner Veterinary Hospital.
What?
I have the best veterinary team in the area.
Bro, why does
My
commercial
doctors
look
are
so
skilled
good?
surgeons, thorough diagnosticians, and great communicators. Nobody has a team like I do.
That's crazy. Man.
Milner
They don't
Veterinary
do
Hospital
no
in Oregon City.
guideline and none of
pets
that
or
because of
family.
this little slick.
Tanya
move.
said that she was one of the first people that Stephen hired when he opened his vet clinic back in 2000.
He would constantly say that the clinic is as much mine as it is his. We were working 6 days a week. I would say we were friends at that point in time.
The vet clinic became a fixture in Oregon City, and Stephen had a reputation of being a kind and empathetic country vet.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Dr. Milner.
Hey, Princess. If I can do an alternative thing that doesn't require medication, drugs and chemicals, that's really nice.
She's a happy girl.
However, his romantic life wasn't nearly as successful, and by 2017, his second marriage was beginning to fail.
That's when we were commiserating with each other about what was going on in his life and what was going on in my life.
Tanya's marriage had tension in it as well, because she believed that Kenny had been cheating on her during his work trips to Washington State. As their relationship began to break down, Kenny started drinking heavily, which led to frequent domestic disputes.
He pretty much drank every night. We fought. Usually it would start because I would try and pour out his booze when he'd had too much. And that would start the physical pushing and shoving.
Around this time, Kenny got arrested for driving under the influence and was thrown in jail. When Tanya went back to work the next day, she found out that Stephen and his wife were separating.
He came to work and said, "Oh, my wife is divorcing me. She moved out this weekend." And I said, well, my husband's in jail this weekend for a DUI. We kind of laughed and commiserated.
The two started flirting with each other, which then quickly turned into a full-on affair. During this time, Tanya told Stephen that Kenny was abusing her. Stephen tried to convince Tanya to leave Kenny for him, but before she could make that decision, Kenny caught her and Stephen together.
My husband caught me at Milner's house. After that, we never went back to having. We still worked together. We remained on a friendly basis, but no physicality.
While Tanya was quickly able to move on from the affair and focus on fixing her marriage, Stephen seemed to have a much harder time.
It was hard to just even be able to do my job because he was always around. He was always hanging out in the treatment area, following me around, was always trying to convince me that he was better and that I should be with him and not with Kenny.
Stephen began sending her an abundance of love letters, trying to win her back. When Tanya didn't reciprocate Stephen's feelings, he sent a letter to Kenny, calling him out for abusing his wife. The letter also contained an obviously photoshopped image of Kenny with a random woman and child, suggesting that Kenny had some sort of double life that he was hiding from Tanya. This letter failed to get a reaction from the Fandriches, but Stephen was still convinced that if he could somehow get Kenny out of the picture, then Tanya would come running back to him. So, he decided to kick things up a notch. In October of 2017, Kenny and Tanya got a notification that there was movement on one of their home security cameras. When they looked at the footage, they saw someone crawling under Kenny's vehicle, but it was unclear what they were doing. Just to be safe, they contacted the Clackamas County Bomb Squad. Thankfully, there was no bomb attached to the car, but they did find a GPS tracking device. When the police spoke to Stephen, he told them that he was only trying to protect Tanya from Kenny. Since Kenny had a history of domestic violence, they believed this story and let Stephen off with a warning. However, one police encounter wasn't going to stop Stephen from getting what he wanted. In the summer of 2018, Stephen was once again caught on camera sneaking around the Fandrich property. He was seen planting a condom in Kenny's car, likely trying to make it appear as if Kenny was cheating. When this plan didn't work, Stephen finally said enough is enough. He knocked on Kenny's front door and confronted him directly. But things quickly escalated, and Stephen was forced to do the unthinkable.
Kenny came out. He kind of advanced on me, and I just kept backpedaling until I couldn't go any further back. He seemed very angry. The told me not to chase his wife, and he would cut me into 1,000 pieces if I didn't stop. So I reached up and kissed his cheek to diffuse the situation, and he stepped back, and that's what I was hoping for.
Following this incident, Kenny filed a protective order against Stephen, but this didn't prevent him from harassing Tanya, who was still working for him at the clinic. He continued bothering her at work and sending her love letter after love letter, desperately trying to convince her to come back to him. According to Tanya, she felt tormented by Stephen relentlessly harassing her and Kenny. However, one incident in 2021 seemed to contradict this claim. The police were called to the Fandrich household because Tanya and Kenny got into another domestic dispute. This resulted in Tanya being handcuffed and thrown into the back of a police cruiser.
So why isn't he getting arrested?
She was taken to the county jail and placed behind bars. The next day, Stephen posted her $25,000 bail, and she stayed at his place for a few nights. However, her charges were then dropped, and she reunited with Kenny. Shortly after, Tanya finally decided to leave Stephen's practice, hoping to put an end to the harassment once and for all.
One day I just realized if I stay here, he still gets to keep all the control over me. And if I just take my talents somewhere else, then he loses control. He can't have power over me.
After years of rejection from his one true love, Stephen was getting more and more frustrated. The tone in his letters to Tanya became more toxic than loving. I have held my tongue and taken the beating over and over because that is what I do. I kept my faith in you. I was just there waiting for you, trying to be nice, having my teeth kicked in. I am sorry that I scare you when I hit things. You are right, it is a sign of lost control, but it is a controlled loss of control. This toxic mindset led him to planting another tracking device on Kenny's vehicle and following him to work, which we saw at the beginning of this video.
Okay, why are you following him?
Out of his life, and I've been trying to talk to him about it.
So, here's my advice to you. Okay? Leave them alone. He wants nothing to do with you. She wants nothing to do with you. I understand there was an affair, all sorts of back history that went on. Okay?
On the body camera, he is going to kill her. She is going to die if he is going to kill her.
By this point, Kenny's protective order had expired, so Tanya and Kenny filed another one. Despite this protective order being granted, Kenny was constantly paranoid that Stephen was going to kill him. He began drinking heavily again to cope with the stress, but this led to more conflict within the marriage. Then, on March 28, 2022, Kenny called the police saying that he had crashed his car into a tree on the side of the road. A patrol officer responded to the scene, and it was immediately clear that Kenny was intoxicated.
What's your name, sir?
Kevin Fandrich.
Hey, Kev. Is that your car, man?
Yes, it is.
Okay, were you driving?
Yes, I was.
Okay, what happened?
My wife and I have been fighting today, and I thought she was at her boss's house where I've caught her cheating on me.
Sorry.
I lost control of my car and just...
Okay.
I didn't want to go. I didn't want to drive. I didn't want to do any of that. It just...
Kenny was clearly spiraling into paranoia, desperately trying to balance the fear of Stephen killing him with the fear of Stephen taking his wife. Over the next 5 months, this paranoia only amplified as Stephen violated the protective order at least 7 times. Then, in August of 2022, Stephen was caught planting yet another tracking device on Kenny's car and was finally charged with violating the order. He was granted bond while he awaited his trial. The next month, Kenny filed a civil suit against Stephen, demanding $245,000 for the emotional distress he had caused and the many invasions of privacy over the last 5 years. And now, about 4 months later, on January 27, 2023, Kenny was dead in his car. The investigators decided to take a look at the parking garage surveillance video and found the footage of the masked man spray painting the cameras. The parking garage staff informed them that this wasn't the only time someone had spray painted their cameras. A month earlier, someone did the exact same thing, wearing almost the exact same outfit. In this footage, there was a distinct clue that could help identify who this person was. Right between his eyes, there was a deep-set forehead crease, one of Stephen's defining facial features. On January 31st, 2023, Stephen was pulled over into a parking lot and arrested for Kenny's murder.
Yeah, if you could roll down the window, that'd be great. Hi, sir. I'm Deputy Davis, the Sheriff's Office. We're being recorded by my camera, so everything's going to be audio-visually recorded. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Right now, you're being detained. We're going to have some investigators come talk to you, okay?
Mr. Miller? Yes? Can we step out of the vehicle?
hands behind your back, please.
Lock him up.
Following his arrest, Stephen was charged with second-degree murder and stalking, as well as violating Kenny's protective order. He was booked into the Washington County Jail and denied bond. While Stephen was in custody, the police noticed that he had poorly applied makeup on his nose, covering something up. When the makeup was removed, it revealed a small scratch, which the detectives believed was a defensive wound sustained during the attack. Unfortunately, this scratch, along with the rest of the evidence gathered thus far, was purely circumstantial, which could make it difficult to prosecute Stephen. So the detectives continued hunting down more evidence to strengthen their case against him. They executed a search warrant for his home, and they discovered what they called a shrine to Tanya. His bedside table was chock full of Tanya memorabilia, including framed photos of her, lovey-dovey post-it notes, cards from when they were together, and several pairs of her underwear. They also found a cardboard cutout of Stephen as a glistening, muscular man in jorts with a paw print tattoo on his chest. After a thorough investigation, the detectives were surprised to find out that the cardboard cutout had nothing to do with Kenny's death. Using GPS location data, they were able to trace Stephen's movements on the day of the murder. Hours before the attack, he was captured parking his white SUV in a Home Depot parking lot and getting into the maroon minivan that Kenny was later killed in. The minivan was then seen leaving the parking lot and heading in the direction of Kenny's work. On another day, about a month before the murder, Stephen could be seen once again parking his white SUV, but this time he got into a blue Buick. The same blue Buick that exited the parking garage moments after the cameras were spray painted. He then parked the Buick in the middle of the parking lot, exited the vehicle, and started walking towards the Home Depot. He entered the store, and after a few minutes of shopping, he paid at the self-checkout and left with a new pair of sunglasses. The same sunglasses he was wearing when he spray-painted the cameras. He was also wearing the same boots and potentially the same jeans. The detective's main concern now was finding the maroon minivan because it likely contained forensic evidence from the murder. It turned out that the van had been discovered abandoned on the side of the highway a few days after the murder, and it had been sold to a scrap metal company. When the detectives reached out to the scrapyard, it was too late. The minivan had already been completely demolished. Despite this disappointment, they were still confident that they had more than enough evidence to prosecute Stephen. His trial began in January of 2025, and the prosecution took the jury through the years of harassment that Stephen had put Kenny and Tanya through, including all of the incriminating surveillance footage. They also revealed that the crime lab found Stephen's DNA on Kenny's hands, which the prosecution believed was the nail in the coffin for Stephen. However, when the prosecution rested their case, the defense called Stephen himself to the stand, and he had an explanation for everything. He tried to justify his long history of stalking, saying that his affair with Tanya actually lasted much longer than she would admit.
It was a romantic relationship. I was very afraid of her by then. She seemed to have more bruises. She was, as far as I understood, trying to leave him, and he would just keep talking her into not. She couldn't make that final break. In the beginning, I didn't feel or realize how dangerous he was. I would say the middle of 2018 is probably when I started getting very concerned about it. I was trying to push them into breaking up.
Even when she left Stephen's practice and excommunicated him, he said that he felt a sense of responsibility to protect the woman he loved.
I still obviously cared for Tanya as a person, and it just seemed like she was trapped in this. I was trying to push them over the edge to them breaking up.
He confessed to the court that after several failed attempts to put an end to their relationship, he started following Kenny with the goal of getting him arrested and thrown in jail.
I was going to try and catch Kenny driving when he got his DUI. I think he had lost his license, and I was trying to get him arrested.
Why was it your responsibility to enforce Oregon traffic?
I was trying to keep Tanya from getting killed.
According to Stephen, January 27th, 2023 was just another attempt to get Kenny arrested. But when Kenny came back to his vehicle after work, he realized that Stephen was in the minivan, so he opened the van door and began attacking Stephen.
Basically fought for a little bit. There was pushing and shoving. Eventually I was able to kind of push him up against the car and then shove him into the car. I was pushing on him on his chest, and I may have pushed on his neck. I don't know. It happened really quickly. I was in my van, I jumped down, and he was attacking me. Oh, it was a fight. It was crazy and fast. I absolutely was not intending to kill Kenny Fandrich.
The prosecution found this explanation to be extremely far-fetched. They believed that the idea of someone breaking their neck by being pushed into their own car made no sense. During cross-examination, they also highlighted Stephen's questionable actions following the murder.
Where did you swap cars?
At Sunnyside Hospital.
Why did you need to do that?
I was getting rid of the car, the van.
Why?
Because I just drove it to a place where somebody died.
So you were trying to cover up that you were there?
Yes.
Even though it was just an accident.
After a 7-day trial, the jury deliberated for 6 hours before reaching their verdict.
All right, there's our 12 jurors. Go and have a seat. I'm now reading the verdict form. As to count 1, murder in the second degree, guilty. As to count 2, stalking, guilty. As to count 3, it says guilty. As to count 4, it says guilty.
Stephen was found guilty on all 7 charges, and his sentencing took place on February 18th, 2025.
Are the parties prepared for sentencing?
Yes, sir.
But before Stephen's punishment was handed down, Tanya took the stand to give her impact statement. She used this opportunity to address Stephen directly.
For years, you tormented Kenny and me, leaving us as your victims. Now it is me standing here in front of you. And hear me clearly when I say I have witnessed your insatiable need to be seen as a hero, which you clearly are not. I will never believe that you thought my life was in danger. You needed a defense for the savage and brutal way you killed Kenny. I love Kenny. We weren't perfect, but there was no shortage of love, commitment, and partnership between us. And you couldn't stand that. I ask and I pray that the judge gives you the maximum allowable sentence.
Sir, can you stand up now, Mr. Milner? I'm sentencing you to lifetime imprisonment.
After 6 years of harassment, which ultimately resulted in a needless death, Stephen Milner finally faced the consequences of his actions. He currently resides at the Snake River Correctional Institution in Ontario, Oregon, and will spend the rest of his life behind bars.
Lock him up, man. Lock him up. He stalked for years, bro. Y'all let this man... He caught on camera multiple times putting GPS trackers in this man car, condoms and stuff, bro. It's been too many altercations. He should have been arrested for a longer term with no bail, no bond. You hear me? This man paid her bond. Did y'all peep that too? So I'm like, man, I don't know about Tanya. He paid her $25,000 bond when she got locked up for domestic assault or some battery. He paid $25,000 to get this lady out of jail, and she stayed at his crib for a couple of days. She admitted that, and this was already after he was stalking for damn near 2 years. So that part really right there not making sense to me, because why would you stay at that man's house for a couple days because he paid your bond? Like, I wonder did your husband know about that? But rest in peace, Kenny, man. That's messed up. Steve, you freaky, creepy, old bastard. You gonna rot where you lay, man. Go ahead, drop a comment down below. Let me know how y'all feel. Drop a like, man. And if you want to, you can subscribe. It is what it is. We out.